Don in London, hello. It's August 12th. My video is all about recovery from addiction to either substance or behaviour, or both in my case. My substance, alcohol, alcoholic in recovery, and my behaviour could be equally addictive around people, places and things. Being with the right people, in the right place, doing the right things and having the right things. All about being right with the world and being a part of the world. All the things that we desire. But the prop of alcohol probably did me more damage than I ever imagined over the years. It was a way of fixing how I felt, fixing my feelings on a daily basis as it happened, because that's what people did. That's what people did back then in the day when I was drinking, or at least I thought so, because I sought out people who drank like me, and we had one in the family as well, called my father. He, an alcoholic, never knew it, in ignorance, but probably very aware that he wanted a drink most times of the day, and most times of the day he got one. So we learn what we learn. We live as we feel we ought to live, and we fix and take the edge off. And sometimes some of us get stuck in the malady of addiction, a disease of the mind, and a malady, an allergy to something which we feel is doing us good, but is not absolutely doing us any good at all. So I've learned over the years that maybe it was probably less than helpful to be a heavy drinker and then find myself addicted 24/7 when life went really to hell. And I've come from hell and back again several times, not only under the influence of drink, but probably under the influence of reality. After all, reality was always there. It was just me denying it. So what helps me these days? Well, to be in fellowship with people like-minded, just wanting to stay sober a day at a time. And along came the fellowship of AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, something I'd never heard of in my big drinking days. Until the end, of course, where somebody said, you need help to get yourself out of this. And I said, I don't need any help at all. I can do it on self-will, but unfortunately my self-will failed over and over again, because when we have the affliction of addiction, well, there's a good catchphrase, the affliction of addiction, the tragedy is we cannot sort it out on our own, and no matter how much I tried, I couldn't. And even when I didn't drink on self-will and did it for months on end, I felt out of it, and still trying to battle against something I didn't understand. So these days I do understand the nature of addiction and know that the fellowship of AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, can help me. Why can it help me? Well, I'll share the AA preamble in just a moment from this little card, which outlines what fellowship is all about. But the most important thing is for me to recognise I don't, can't and will not represent AA, because it's full of unique, authentic people who can speak for themselves where they will. I share how it helps me in my life, because that's about sharing hope with other people. No matter where you are, what you're doing, it's just an eye-opener, and something about the 12-step program, or 12 steps as principles of living, which do not take our freedom away. They absolutely make freedom possible, as life is. Real life on life's terms. So what is AA? Followed by a bit of readings and stuff which I've picked up along the way. Not all my words, I hasten to add. After all, we share what's working for us. So it's not particularly attributable to me, but people in recovery, and I don't speak for them. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. So in that final phrase, our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. We give it away to keep it, we share it because it's doing us good to share, and sometimes it does help other people who are in similar circumstances. But the identification that is needed in recovery is with those voices or those people we hear in the rooms and meetings of AA, where we try and sort out what the truth is on a daily basis. What's working for us, what's not working for us. And last night was a wonderful meeting. I might have time to share more about it, but here I share the AA daily reflection for today, all to do with step 8, which is making a list of amends and being willing to make them. It's not actually doing them or wondering which ones we want to make. It's making a list of people we've harmed over the years, for whatever reason, in whatever state we might have been in, and have a willingness to make them. So it's not about doing them, and it takes a bit of consultation with people who have got some wisdom to see whether it's a harmful exercise to go out there with a heart full of sorrow, well, maybe, yes, probably sadness at what we did, and a desire to try and put matters right, but without hurting other people. So step 8 is the willingness and the list. Step 9 is making amends and restitution where we can without doing further harm. So we have to be, I suppose, mindful of what we did and how things occurred, and not to do further damage. But that's in step 9. So the AA daily reflection for today from this book, 365 pages of wisdom put together by AA fellows for people who need recovery on a daily basis. And after all, there is only one day where we can be in recovery, and that's today. So today's reflection, August 12th, looking backward, or look backward. First we take a look backward and try to discover where we have been at fault. Next we make a vigorous attempt to repair the damage we have done, and that comes from the 12 steps and 12 traditions. And the commentary follows. As a traveller on a fresh and exciting journey of recovery, AA journey of recovery, I experienced a newfound peace of mind, and the horizon appeared clear and bright, rather than obscure and dim. Reviewing my life to discover where I had been at fault seemed to be such an arduous and dangerous task. It was painful to pause and look backward. I was afraid I might stumble. Couldn't I just put the past behind and just live in my new golden present? I realized that those in the past whom I had harmed stood between me and my desire to continue my movement toward serenity, which is to live life on life's terms with a fairly equal feeling with our fellow man. I had to ask for courage to face those persons from my life who still lived in my conscience, to recognize and deal with the guilt that their presence produced in me. I had to look at the damage I had done and become willing to make amends. Only then could my journey of the spirit resume. And spiritual journey is living life in reality. Everything is spiritual in the moment of now. And that also means that spiritual has all the elements of happiness and sadness, love and hate. It's what we do with our feelings, knowing our emotions and feelings in the moment of now, and what we may do without doing further harm to other people, ourselves, and getting into stormy weather, if you like. And we've had lots of that happening in the United Kingdom with riots, and even now the people in charge are starting to bicker at each other about who's got the best idea of how to sort it out. Anyway, I don't need to engage in that today, because I can't. I can feel it. I can feel the anger and misunderstanding happening in other people, and I may know the answers as I see them, but for me to contribute to that debate today may have absolutely no purpose except to make one side unhappy, and another side happy, maybe, I don't know, in their outlook and opinions. But that's just the top of the law and order politician debate, where things are starting to unravel and dissent is in the ranks. Notwithstanding that, a lot of people went on riots and broke the law and looted, and yeah, that's happened. My feeling about it, I can see why it happened. My feelings about people who have done these things is abject misery for those who have done it, because they have to live with the consequences, and for those who have sustained damage, again, I can see how they may feel. I mean, I've not been involved in riots or looting, but I've seen the result of robbery in my own home in the past, and how it felt, and the powerlessness of that, and especially when nobody seems to care. So there's a lot of don't care going on right now, and worse, retribution rather than restitution. I don't know the answers, so that's where I am this morning. And for me, these are the morning meditations I go through. I'm alive and breathing. These are the things I do. My morning meditations pretty much every day, and it's very rare that I don't actually go through this mental process. It's a process of setting myself up to have a reasonable day. So I say to myself, I'm alive and breathing, and the good reasons for that. I check my situation as a type 1 diabetic, my blood sugar levels and the amount of insulin I must inject to make sure that life will continue in a rudimentary phase of being alive. And my daily meditation starts with step 1, 2 and 3. Freedom to choose is step 1. Sane enough right now, restored to sanity, step 2. Let go and let good happen, step 3. And then the serenity prayer, which is about can do and cannot do. At bedtime, gratitude for and anything. At bedtime, gratitude for whatever it is. Being alive still, being it's a good meeting, and I'll talk about that in a minute. And anything disturbing me. Usually what disturbs me is me and my attitudes. Or maybe something I've done in terms of behaviour, an unkind word, an unhelpful gesture, an unhelpful action, just because I might have felt justifiable anger or resentments. But I try and deal with resentments by setting my expectations to 0 first thing in the morning, so that if anything happens genuinely to the good of life, it's a feeling of something beyond my wildest expectations, which I set to 0. It's making me aware that anything can happen on a daily basis. But if I say to myself, I will be at the right blood sugar for my diabetes of 6.5 and it won't go wrong. If I say to myself, I will meet the right girl in the right moment and we'll get married, have a multitude of children, I'll win the lottery and everything's going to be okay. I think that's a bit out of what is possible given my current age and circumstances. But now talking about last night's meeting. A wonderful experience last night. After 8 meeting, that's after 8 years, those are the people who share at the beginning of the meeting to share what it's like in later recovery. And it reminded me it's all about how to love, be loved and useful. Seeing friends, being with people who understand what it's like on our first day, because we had newcomers in the meeting who are absolutely flabbergasted by the honesty that comes with fellowship. We are open, honest and willing to share what goes on for us. And for those who are 30 or 40 years into sobriety, continuous sobriety without a break. Life is in the moment and just for today. This is what it is. Life is in the moment and just for today. I felt last night happy and humble. Happy that life is as it may be, and humble, simply equal with everyone, neither bigger nor smaller, able to shake the hand of a person who I had a bit of an altercation with some time ago, and I don't feel right or wrong about it. I just feel it's okay for us to be on friendly handshake terms. We may never like each other, and we may often feel like judging each other, but that's none of my business what they do, and I just need to stick with what works for me and not impede them in their spiritual progress of sorting whatever it is for themselves. I've got enough on my plate sorting out my own spiritual progress, open, honest and willing to live life as it is. And in previous years, look back, don't stare, as we moved onto the maintenance steps, this is after step 8 and 9, which are 10, 11 and 12. Step 8, our list of amends and willingness to make them. As we look at harm done by us, we need to reflect the steps are not for judging harm done to us, because every burn, every anger, resentment we feel can offer opportunity to cast blame and retaliation in some form or other. The gift of understanding our part in all matters, our side of the street clean, what others do is their business, so I don't need to get my great big caterpillar digger out and dig up their side of the street and say, look at all the stuff you did, all the mess and catastrophe you caused me, because I wasn't to blame for that. No, it's about what did I do to inspire another person, or what did I do to undermine another person, because it does no point, it absolutely has no value in the end. And I hope this is what happens with the riots that we've had in London. We can find out what the causes are and do something about it, but as we start to push beyond the consequences, which are obvious, those who have committed criminal acts will go to prison. But what of the community, the broken down bits that are left, and what has caused that? Well, it's benign neglect rather than malign neglect. I can see that. If you don't know what sort of impact you're having on a generation of people who are dislocated and not plugged in anymore to society, if you have no way of getting them back on board, saying it's up to them to sort it out for themselves when there is no opportunity and there is no resource, you're asking a lot. You're asking an awful lot of the I suppose, and it's a horrible phrase, the underclass. But you know what? I became part of my own underclass, the most reviled in the world. That is the person who becomes addicted to something, cannot stop it, and is simply written off by many, looked at as less than human by many, and undermined by many as well, not understanding the nature of the mental illness. And interestingly enough, our Prime Minister in this country used the word not only broken society but sick society. Now, if somebody's sick and unwell emotionally or mentally, I wonder what usefulness for those out there it is to lock them up, or is that all we can do? I don't know, but you know, these labels once put on people. Unfortunately, our Prime Minister also claimed the high ground by coming back on Monday off his holiday, where he'd been playing tennis in Italy, and things immediately got better. Well, the simple answer is an extra umpteen thousand police on the streets, and the police initiated all this and worked it all out, what to do to stem the flow of violence. You can't claim credit for that. Anyway, that's me judging other people again. I must be careful. I must be very careful. What did I do about it? I kept well out of it because I'm powerless over some of these things, and I can't be a vigilante because then I become part of the riot and the mob. And you know, mob rule, we get the Riot Act read to us in many forms. But you know, just by the grace of God go many. If you consider, and I consider it too, you know, the hardships I endured over the years, the absolutely having nothing, absolutely nothing left to offer or to receive. That's where I got to. And this is where some of these people have got to. And you wonder why anger and resentment come up. Well, I'm not surprised. But that's life on life's terms, recognising what has come to pass, and then what to do about it. Now, this is where those who have taken responsibility to be in power need to act and behave responsibly. And maybe I just need to make that point. That's as far as I can go. But to judge what happens next is a collaboration of not only those who think they know the answers, but those who are going to have the answers done to them. And this is where it all fails, because it's it's an instruction and a prescription, a sticking plaster or bandage, which is designed to cover it all up, when in fact we need to let the wound be open and heal with the light of day, I guess. So that's me on those things. What else? Oh yeah, making amends just for today. Not just for today. The living amend to self is recovery and spiritual progress as each of us understands. It is a personal view. Our thorough and fearless inventory, that's the life story in step 4, and time illuminates more to do and less to do. More open, honest and willing. Illuminates more to do rather than less to do. To be more open, honest and willing. When I falter, I share and listen for experience, strength and hope today. So when I don't know, I ring a man who can. I said this last night actually, and how did I say it? I do my morning meditation, step 1, step 2, step 3. Freedom to choose, restore to sanity, let go, let good things happen. And there will be times in each and every day where the Serenity Prayer will save me from myself. Anger and resentment, the number one offenders of losing my temper and thinking it's all about me again, when it's not. I'm just another person on the planet trying to make ends meet and meet the day as I can. So, there we have it. Morning stuff from me. And I'm really grateful when I go to a meeting like that one last night. It's weird. Sometimes we go through a few days or weeks or months where we're just hanging on because life feels fairly horrible. And I know what it is for me. It means my clinical depression is back when that happens, which opens the door to fear, putting on a brave face and not letting people in, because if I let people in, they'll meddle with me. And the answer is maybe they will give me a hug, which is perfectly good, and it's not in any other way as the only way it is a loving hug. And this is how we find in the fellowship of AA how strange it is to be hugged by men of whatever sexual persuasion. It doesn't matter. The hug is a genuine connection of love without conditions. Men, women hugging each other and it's unconditional. But it takes a while to get there, because in my early days when a woman hugged me, I was hoping they would fall in love with me and I would fall in love with them. But I'm ever hopeful of those things. But it doesn't have to be today, because life is okay on life's terms right now. And what on earth would I do if I found myself in romance again? Yes, romance and finance, those things which tipped us over the edge in the first place probably, are the very essence of life. So I never say never. Never say never, except to another drink. And that's only on a daily basis. So what keeps me in tune with where I am is the Serenity Prayer, what I can do and cannot do, and learning the wisdom as life goes along, just for today. And it's to God, or in good conscience, an exhortation to nature, the universe, providence, your particular faith and religion as you see it, the God of your understanding, whatever it happens to be in your life. And I guess it's somewhere in between good conscience and God for me. I can neither confirm or deny the existence of God, and I could never define God, but I do know that truth, love and wisdom is the root of goodness. So the Serenity Prayer, as I said, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference for me in the moment and just for today.